Revelation of 0 degree. Siafang. March 4, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Living in the northern part of Canada, there's a particular sensitivity to 0 degrees. If the temperature remains at or below 0 degrees Celsius, the snow won't melt. But once the temperature exceeds 0 degrees, even reaching just 1 degree above zero, the melting of ice and snow begins. 0 degrees is a turning point. Below zero is solid, while above zero is liquid. I have a cold storage room where the temperature is maintained at 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. This helps prevent food from rotting and being damaged by freezing. However, whenever the outdoor temperature drops to over -30 degrees Celsius, if I'm not careful, the temperature in the cold storage room can drop below zero. Once it reaches 0 degrees Celsius or below, most of the preserved vegetables will freeze and become inedible. 0 degrees is a sign of life or death, above zero means life, below zero is death. In physics, there's a term called the critical point, which is the point at which a qualitative change occurs in a substance. Similarly, in the realm of the mind and psychology, there's also a critical point. For example, when you insult or criticize someone, once your insults, criticisms, or accusations exceed the recipient's threshold, they will become angry, even violent. When mental pressure exceeds the threshold one can bear, a person may become depressed or even contemplate suicide. Once the development of something surpasses the critical point, 0 degrees, a qualitative change occurs. When an animal's consciousness surpasses the critical point, it becomes human. When a human's consciousness surpasses the critical point, they either become like animals or become immortals or Buddhas. This insight into 0 degrees reveals a law: regardless of how many years one practices cultivation, if the perfection and transformation of life have not exceeded the critical point, they won't see any qualitative change. Even after tens of thousands of years of cultivation, if one's life evolution remains below the critical point, they will still be the same person. They won't become immortals or Buddhas. Therefore, many cultivators give up halfway because they can't see any results after years of cultivation, feeling discouraged and lost, and they stop practicing. The fundamental reason is that they haven't exceeded the critical point. Perhaps they were just one step away from it, but unfortunately, they didn't persevere, which is regrettable. Fruits fall off when ripe. If the stem doesn't fall, it's because the fruit is still growing. As long as the fruit is still growing, it's not considered ripe, and it hasn't surpassed the critical point. As long as the fruit isn't ripe and hasn't exceeded the critical point, the stem won't fall. Once the fruit ripens, the stem will surely fall. All things hover around the 0 degree point, sometimes below zero, sometimes above zero, constituting the cycle of life and death. If it remains below zero, it's dead. If it stays above zero, it's alive. If it perpetually remains above zero, it lives forever in paradise. Why does the greatest creator reside in the world of 0 degrees? Because the greatest creator is the pivot and origin of all movement and change. All transformations in the nature of life must pass through the greatest creator, the 0 degree point. Without passing through the greatest creator, the nature of life cannot undergo any changes. This is why we must reverence the greatest creator and follow the path of the greatest creator.